Democrats support illegal aliens. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Can I take this off? Oh, this is wired, okay. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to our great police officers. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my town hall. This is a town hall. This is not a political rally. This is not a protest. If you stand up and want to protest, if you want to shout and chant, we will have you removed just like that man was thrown out. We will not tolerate it. This is, let me tell you, this is funded. The Democrats have been rioting. They are the party of violence. They are the party that, go. 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 If you want to sit and listen, you're welcome to listen. Everyone across the aisle. Democrats, Independents, Republicans. This is a good place. You have a lot to learn. And with that, I'll start with our first video. Georgia 14 is not going to be intimidated by funded Democrat protests and by people that came in that aren't from our district. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Stop. This is a peaceful town hall. Now, this is a peaceful town.
Live in a place where I am one of the members of Congress that usually has the highest amount of death threats. As a matter of fact, what are you doing to protect us in the 14th district from the damage and extreme hardship of Trump's tariffs? Gutting of Social Security and Medicaid. Wow. Doge gutting our government with a chainsaw approach and the utter destruction and ignoring of our Constitution and rule of law. He is not well physically or mentally, and he's making nonsensical orders based on his whim of the day. How are you going to rein him in to protect us? Oh, poor Christina. Poor Christina. Well, I'm sure, Christina, you think that you're pretty smart. But the reality is you are being completely brainwashed by whatever source of news you listen to. The facts are this. No one has lost their Social Security. No one has lost their benefits. Criminals have lost it. Yes. Fraudsters have lost it. Yes. And illegal aliens have lost it. Yep. And if you want to defend those people where you hate our country and you hate America, what am I going to do? I am going to stand by my president. I am going to support my president. And I'm going to fight for his agenda with everything I have in Congress. And that's what I'm going to do for the 14th district, because I know for a fact you are going to have more money in your pocket. You're going to have more jobs available. You're going to have a stronger economy. And you're going to have safe cities and communities to live in. And you'll be safe from terrorists, cartels, and criminals. And God bless President Trump for that. The reality is tariffs are not a massive tax on the American people. The tax on the American people that you've been suffering with is the inflation that Biden and the Democrats put on the American people. from their absolute reckless spending for the past 4 years. What are you doing to protect us in the 14th district from the damage and extreme hardship of Trump's tariffs? Gutting of Social Security and Medicaid. Wow. Doge gutting our government with a chainsaw approach and the utter destruction and ignoring of our Constitution and rule of law. He is not well physically or mentally, and he's making nonsensical orders based on his whim of the day. How are you going to rein him in to protect us? Oh, poor Christina. Poor Christina. Well, I'm sure, Christina, you think that you're pretty smart. But the reality is you are being completely brainwashed by whatever source of news you listen to. The facts are this. No one has lost their Social Security. No one has lost their benefits. Criminals have lost it. Yes. Fraudsters have lost it. Yes. And illegal aliens have lost it. Yep. And if you want to defend those people where you hate our country and you hate America, what am I going to do? I am going to stand by my president. I am going to support my president. And I am going to fight for his agenda with everything I have in Congress. And that's what I'm going to do for the 14th district, because I know for a fact you are going to have more money in your pocket. You're going to have more jobs available. You're going to have a stronger economy, and you're going to have safe cities and communities to live in, and you'll be safe from terrorists, cartels, and criminals. And God bless President Trump for that. That are not just living at the border. Ladies and gentlemen, they're all inside the interior of the United States.
How about the KKK?
All inside the interior of the United States. You can head out. The protest is outside. Thank you very much. Protest is outside. Protest is outside. Bye. Have fun out there.
From across the country, we only take your cases. And we serve all of you. So if you have any issues tonight, please make your way over to the table. They're there, they are ready. They're staying here the whole time so that they can help anyone with any specific issues. So I just wanted to let you know that's available to you. And now just to get into it, I think I'd rather take your questions. And they gave me a full list here of the questions that we've got. So we'll go ahead and start with the first one. How can we stop rogue judges? That's a very important question. We just passed a bill in the House that addresses this very issue and reins in rogue judges from being able to completely undo the will of the American people. Now, when you, the American people, elected President Trump, and he is following through on the agenda that he promised you. But when a single judge comes in and uses the power of his bench and rules against the president's agenda, he's ruling against the American people. And so we passed that bill in the House to stop judges from doing that, and we look forward to seeing it go through the Senate and making it to President Trump's desk. This is a good question, Cindy. Will members of Congress who took taxpayer dollars through NGOs and other illegal means be held accountable and charged with crimes? I think NGOs are so interesting. As a matter of fact, my team on the Doge Committee and the oversight staff, we are heavily investigating NGOs. And I'll be holding a hearing on our investigation into NGOs and look forward to having some great witnesses that come before us. Now, if there is true evidence of members of Congress or their family receiving money directly from NGOs, I look forward to sending criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Great question. When will we start seeing voting on legislation to support President Trump's executive orders? Irvin, thank you for that question. I can tell you, not soon enough. I wish we were passing them every single week. That's something that I've expressed to our leadership, is we want to see those bills coming, but I have some really good news for you. I have several bills that actually are President Trump's executive orders. One of them is the Gulf of America Act. And that will be coming to the House floor actually really soon. So we're looking forward to that. Protect Children's Innocence Act is another one of President Trump's executive orders. He's serious about protecting children from the trans agenda. We also have one more, before I get to the next question, is we have the Make English the official language of the United States. It's a no-brainer. Over 170 countries around the world have an official language. America should have one too, and that's English. Okay. Oh, yep. Why is MTG supporting Musk and Doge and the slashing of Medicaid, Social Security offices, libraries, and more? This is outrageous from Sarah. Well, Sarah, unfortunately, you're being brainwashed by the news that you're watching. And, you know, a lot of Democrats pride themselves on being educated, and I suggest they educate themselves better. Because I showed you a video in the beginning. I wish you could have seen the whole clip of Barack Obama literally talking about what we call today Doge. And so, Sarah, if you supported Barack Obama as your president, which I'm sure you did, then I'm sure you support Elon Musk and Doge as well. Now, as far as Medicaid, Social Security, libraries, and more, what we're doing is we're removing waste, fraud, and abuse, and there's nothing more important we can do for you as Americans to protect your Social Security than get rid of the criminals that are stealing it. We have to make sure that we protect Social Security. We're not cutting Social Security. We're not cutting Medicare. This is a promise from President Trump and Republicans like myself on the campaign trail, and we will live up to that promise, and no one has lost their benefits. When is the House going to get the tax cuts bill finished so the Senate can pass it too, so Trump can sign it? This is more important than any other issue at this time. Thank you, Melanie. Melanie, I fully agree with you. I think we've got to get the tax bill and the law passed as soon as possible. So before Congress, I was a business owner, and this is my 5th year in Congress that I just started. So that was just a little more than 4 years ago. Business owners, regular Americans are not able to plan until we have a tax law that they know they can count on and they know is not going to change on them. So Congress, we're supposed to be working on that tax law in May, and I look forward to getting that done as soon as possible. I also stand by President Trump's campaign promises of no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime. I'm also a co-sponsor of the fair tax, so if it were up to me, I would really put that tax law in the paper shredder. All right, let's see, what do we have now? How is Congress working to make Doge cuts permanent from Rich? We will be doing that mostly in our reconciliation bill, and a lot of that will happen in the month of May. Hopefully we get that done quickly. That is also going to be about border, energy, and the tax law. As the chair of Doge Committee, I can tell you guys, I want all the Doge cuts permanent. I want to save you as much money as possible and reduce the scope and size of the federal government. And on that note, I have to give President Trump a lot of credit. He, more than anyone else, is reducing the size and scope of the federal government. And so this is a really good thing. What plan do you have to continue to grow the MAGA movement after Trump? From Marcus. Well, Marcus, you know what? I think MAGA is already on its way. It's not anything I have to do. MAGA proved that this movement is not only just a movement, it is the American people. Because the American people overwhelmingly voted for MAGA in November of 2024. That's exactly what the American people voted for. So I'd say it's up to the American people to make sure we keep it going. Do you think President Trump will lose support from voters who are not willing to wait and see the results of the tariffs? In other words, know that the tariffs will give him bargaining power and in the end more business and jobs back in America. But some seem to be frightened of his aggressive moves, Sandra. That's a very good thought, but I'm going to tell you right now, don't be a panicking. That's a new word President Trump came up with. You see, look, it took us decades to get here, decades to get to $36 trillion in debt. It took decades for our factories to shut down and our jobs sent overseas. It took decades for us to all fall into this terrible, it's basically a grave that America has been put in and dug by our federal government. So I support President Trump so much. And you know who he's standing up against? China. That is exactly who he's standing up against. China has stolen our intellectual property. China has stolen so much of our trade. China has spied on the United States and Americans. And President Trump is standing up for us and American companies, and he is stopping it. I don't know about you guys. I don't want a war with China, but we can beat them economically. And that's exactly what President Trump's doing. Do you see an even role for DOGE at the federal and state level, Larry? Absolutely. I think reducing waste, fraud, and abuse should be in every part of government. Yeah, it should. And I encourage you all to push to make that happen. Oh, and I think it is happening in Georgia. I've heard there's over 70 counties that are creating DOGE groups. So I think it's already on its way. What are you doing to reduce national debt, not just slow its growth, Patricia? Patricia, this is a great question. So reducing our national debt is going to happen in multiple ways. Here's how it's working. President Trump is growing our economy. I think he has around $7 trillion of commitments from companies that are bringing that money, $7 trillion into our economy by bringing their companies here, manufacturing and creating jobs. Another way that we can do that is, of course, reduce the size and scope of the federal government. President Trump is already starting that by getting rid of the Department of Education, getting rid of USAID, NPR, PBS, and many other waste and fraud. He's also cutting contracts, useless contracts, things that you all would never pay for yourself if you knew what they were. And also stopping ridiculous grants funding things that we should never fund, not just here in America, but in countries all over the world. So that's a part of reducing the spending. But it's very important not only to reduce spending, but to grow our economy. And that's how we can rein in national debt. What are you doing to protect us in the 14th district from the damage and extreme hardship of Trump's tariffs? Of Social Security and Medicaid. Wow. DOGE gutting our government with a chainsaw approach and utter destruction and ignoring of our Constitution and rule of law. He is not well physically or mentally, and he's making nonsensical orders based on his whim of the day. How are you going to rein him in to protect us? Oh, poor Christina. Poor Christina. Well, I'm sure, Christina, you think that you're pretty smart, but the reality is you are being completely brainwashed by whatever source of news you listen to. The facts are this: no one has lost their Social Security. No one has lost their benefits. Criminals have lost it, yes. Fraudsters have lost it, yes. And illegal aliens have lost it, yep. And if you want to defend those people where you hate our country and you hate America, what am I going to do? I am going to stand by my president. I am going to support my president. And I am going to fight for his agenda with everything I have in Congress. And that's what I'm going to do for 14th, because I know, in fact, you are going to have more money in your pocket. You're going to have more jobs available. You're going to have a stronger economy, and you're going to have safe cities and communities to live in, and you'll be safe from terrorists, cartels, and criminals. And God bless President Trump. pledge for no income tax on Social Security be part of the final reconciliation this year. I think this is extremely important. Your money in Social Security has been taxed. It should have never been taxed. I don't know how we got in this place, but it must be undone. Senior citizens have suffered more than any group that I talked to. It's been tragic and heartbreaking talking to many seniors over the past 4 years because many of them I talked to could hardly pay their rent, had to choose between medication and groceries, told me how they couldn't afford to buy gifts for their grandchildren because they had to figure out how to afford to pay rent and figure out how to live. This is a tragedy, and because of inflation brought on this country from the Biden administration, and I'll add onto this, reckless spending for decades by both Republicans and Democrats. I'm going to say both. Inflation has gotten to a point where life is unaffordable and people's Social Security is hardly a drop in the bucket. It shouldn't ever be that way. It shouldn't be that way. When can arrests start being made for elected politicians who have committed acts of treason? Glenda. Okay, your people are ready to round them up. Well, sadly, they don't let me arrest anybody, guys. I just have a voting card. I can do legislation and I can hold hearings. Members of Congress, we don't have that power, but our Department of Justice does. And if there is evidence of politicians or anyone committing such crimes, then I'm sure that President Trump's Department of Justice will follow through. What can Congress do to rein in the hate and lies of elected officials who are spewing that endanger the lives of innocent people? Rex Crockett is one example. Those inciting the vandalism and domestic terrorism against Tesla and Tesla owners are another example. Kathleen, thank you for that question. And I first want to start with recognizing Governor Shapiro and his family and say that I truly pray for them. And it was shocking to see that attack of arson on the governor's mansion. And I completely denounce that type of political violence. I denounce all political violence. Now, I can tell you that because I also live in a place where I am one of the members of Congress that usually has the highest amount of death threats. As a matter of fact, there's an active death threat that Capitol Police have been dealing with on me, but this is a routine thing that happens. And Capitol Police does a great job. So does the FBI, and so does all of my local law enforcement. I'm very thankful for them. Now, so I can't control anyone else that I serve with in Congress, but I can tell you my stance is no one should be calling and threatening our staff. I don't care, Democrats or Republicans. No one should be cussing at them, telling them to kill them, because my staff gets death threats too. Saying, you know, when I get them, and that just shouldn't happen. And again, I'll just say this: we have bigger problems in America. We really do. Problems that should bring us together as Americans and not divide us to the point where they're talking about killing people. Let's just remember this: that it has not been a year. It hasn't been a year since President Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, almost assassinated on the world stage for everyone to see. Hasn't even been a year. I would hope, and you know, here's another thing that I can't let go, is the poll that I saw where over half of Democrats support assassinating President Trump. That is absolutely disgusting and shameful. And if it doesn't matter who the president is, no one should support assassinating the president. You know what you do? You vote. You want to change your leaders, you vote. And that's how America should handle it. Why do you support a president adding the largest tax on people ever through executive orders with tariffs? Samira. Samira, inflation is coming down. Gas is coming down. Airline tickets are coming down. Your energy costs are coming down. The price of eggs are coming down because Democrats are not killing them all over the country. The reality is tariffs are not a massive tax on the American people. The tax on the American people that you've been suffering with is the inflation that Biden Democrats put on the American people from their absolute reckless spending for the past 4 years. How do they get rid of in a practical way? Kathleen, great question. Well, we've been facing that, cutting spending, growing our economy, and guys, this isn't going to happen in 2 years, and it isn't going to happen in 4 years, probably 6 years. I think this has to be steady work by every single Congress and every single administration. Here's what I'm counting on you all, the American people, to make sure that not only myself, but all leaders know that this is a top issue for you and hold us accountable for that. Does Representative Greene in Texas understand how impeachment works? I watched the Democratic Congress members spouting rhetoric all weekend about Trump. And these voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, Green New Deal scam, but contributed to an approximate 16 to 18% cumulative inflation under Biden. How do we get this message out? Ruth, you just I think your question speaks for itself. Thank you for that. There's a lot of chaos and short-term pain with these new initiatives. How do we navigate them for this election, Carrie? I think this is something that the American people understand better than anybody. You know, working in Washington, D.C. is like going to a foreign country. It's like a bubble. But when you come out to America, everybody understands this. That, you know, when your household is in debt, your credit cards are maxed out, you have to let go of the fun things you like to spend money on. For me, I'm like, dang, I can't order things online or go out to eat as much as I want. I have to rein in my spending. But this is what American families know how to do. They sit at their kitchen table and they pull out their budget. They look at their credit card statements. They look at their checking account statements, and they go through spending and go line by line and say, I can't afford to pay for this anymore. I got to drop my Netflix. I got to drop this. I got to drop that. And that's what the American people know how to do. And so, in my opinion, because all my friends and family are normal people, the people that I like to spend my time with are normal people that understand this. I don't think the American people are the problems with the patience that it's going to take. I think the American people have the patience and desperately want to fix the problem. So actually, I think you guys get it probably more than Washington does. And I think you're more committed maybe than many of my colleagues. And that I have a lot of respect for you guys for. And I thank you for that. But I'm committed to it. Because our kids, my children, they're not going to have a future. Your children, your grandchildren, what kind of future are they going to have if we don't, in our time, fix these problems? Why are you such a coward in the face of an obvious fascist takeover, Andrew? Oh, scary. That's scary. You know, I've yet to see a fascist gathering. That doesn't exist in the Republican Party. As a matter of fact, President Trump is the most transparent president in history. The man literally talks to the press every single day. It's amazing. Not only that, he takes them on Air Force One and takes them to UFC fights. He talks to them and gaggles on the plane. He talks to them all the time. This is such an amazing thing that happened. You know, well, the Associated Press shouldn't have told as many lies as they did about President Trump. And President Trump has been lied about by Democrats, has been lied about by the press. I mean, Russia collusion, come on. I haven't seen the press apologize for that. And many people, unfortunately, are still brainwashed on those lies. You know the real problem that happened in America? The real problem was this. Can you imagine that every Democrat you know voted for Kamala Harris in the general election, but they didn't complain about the fact that they couldn't vote for her in the primary, that the Democrat Party didn't allow a primary? You talk about fascism. Think about that. Not really a question, but maybe a mention of the fact that people did not disrupt a Democrat town hall. How about that? Yeah, that's right. And certainly not require the meeting place be held at a time due to security concerns. And that's something I do believe the Dems would fully agree with what I just wrote. I hope so. Thank you for all you do, Marjorie. You are a strong, important voice for sanity. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for deporting the illegals. I lost my daughter, Peyton, to Forever 27 in December 2021. She was not an addict. She was a beautiful girl who made a mistake. Our children should not die from one mistake. Thank you for slowing the flow of fentanyl into the country, Jennifer. Jennifer, I don't know if I hope you're in here, but I'm sorry for the loss of your daughter. And I think that your words right here speak volumes. And I want to tell you that it was for moms like you, moms and dads like you, that I led the effort to impeach Secretary Mayorkas last Congress. And it's because of moms and dads like you and your precious children that should have never died from fentanyl overdoses. And like you said, they made a mistake. And President Trump is committed. He is committed. Oh, you want to know a big fight on the tariffs for Mexico and Canada? It's because he's sick and tired of our people being poisoned with fentanyl. President Trump has been very hard on Mexico and Canada both because fentanyl flows through both of those borders, and it's for families like yours. And so, Jennifer, all of us in this room, we stand with you. We share your grief, and we're so sorry. We're so sorry, but we are fixing this problem. And thank you for your question and statement. What benefits have you brought to the farmers in your district with your support of the Trump administration's inflationary tariff-based economic policy? Nathan. Well, Nathan, I got to tell you, I talked to a lot of farmers. You know, I'm really, tariffs help our farmers. You know, our farmers have a very difficult time selling the food that they produce because they can't compete with foreign countries. Foreign countries are shipping in food and meat from all over the world much cheaper than our farmers are able to produce food and sell it here in the United States. Listen, food, the fact that we can produce food is national security for our country, and President Trump's tariffs are going to make sure that we have national security for food in America. Will President Trump be dismantling the IRS? I certainly hope so, Lee. That's a great question. What businesses would you like to see come to District 14, Shannon? Well, you know, as a representative, I don't pick and choose the businesses, but the businesses I think are so important in the district are the ones that exist there. And I think as my role as your representative, the work that I do in Washington has to support your ability to run your business and grow your business. And that's what I'm committed to do. All right, that wrapped it up. This is fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again for coming out tonight. And I want to thank you for your support. And I also am so excited. Thank you to the City of Backworth. I'm thrilled to have this part in my district. We've had great meetings today and look forward to working with everyone. And also, I'll say this. I know one thing about Georgia 14. Georgia 14 is not going to be intimidated by funded Democrat protests and by people that came in that aren't from our district.